Hello guys, welcome to the Train Parrot. Currently, 98.6% of Bitcoin holders are in profit. In today's video, we're going to talk about the implications of an asset having most of the investors being in profit. Can it continue running up? Is it supposed to go sideways? Or should it do a pullback? What if I told you that it can be a combination of them? We're going to look into detail into that. I'm also going to give you an update on the top and bottom weekly indicator. It's getting really hot and getting very excited as we approach the resistance. As usual, we are going to cover Bitcoin from multiple angles, not just the TA, but also the social aspect, the fundamentals. We're going to look at the weekly RSI today from a special angle that we have never done before. These numbers 5, 2, 3, 2, 1 is something that you don't want to miss. And of course, as usual, we're going to cover the daily time frame and the 4-hour time frame that is giving us very early hints on what could happen next for Bitcoin. We'll cover the liquidity, and I'm also going to give you an update on the performance of our live trading bots. Let's start with the top bottom weekly. You can see that we have never ever throughout the full history of Bitcoin managed to get above this resistance at the top of the oscillator. Each cycle you are supposed to be above the support, and when you break, you enter into a bear cycle in this area, and then you build another channel to the upside in the next cycle. In the previous cycle, we broke below, but we kind of broke that pattern because we re-enter into the bullish area of the previous bull market. So it seems to be that the bull market that started in January of 2019, according to this oscillator, hasn't ended, and we are still within the range of that bullish market. The most important thing is that we are once again approaching this resistance, which is a double resistance because it coincides with the level 0.5 that has been already resistance and the all-time resistance of the trend line. We are currently at 0.44. The last time I covered the indicator, we were at 0.3 more or less, and we were saying that I was going to update you as we get closer and closer to the resistance. So I'm doing my job, I'm keeping you updated. Unfortunately, I've been sick for the past 3 days, just getting out of bed. My full family has also been sick in bed, so it's been very difficult to keep you updated. If you wonder what I'm expecting to see after we meet with this resistance, I'm not putting all my bets that it's going to necessarily reject us, although that is likely, because in the same way that we broke the pattern and we re-enter this area, which is something that we have never done, we need to be as well prepared for this other pattern of have never been above this trend line to get broken potentially. The point is, if we manage to break above this trend line and make a bullish breakout right there, that is going to disappoint a lot of investors that are currently bearish on this particular cycle. And just to clarify, I'm not bearish for the cycle. People get very confused when I'm doing an analysis on a 4-hour time frame, on a daily time frame. The span of those outcomes applied just to the next few days, maximum to the next month. But it doesn't mean that I'm bearish on Bitcoin or on the full cycle. The second outcome is that it might do what it has always done, so be also prepared for that. Once it reaches 0.5, there is a likelihood that this gets rejected there. And that it's high likely going to be a great opportunity for many investors that are waiting on the sidelines to re-enter, to manage to finally enter the market. Of course, we will have to see at that point what's going on with the macroeconomy. I remind you that we are currently having a bearish divergence between the price of Bitcoin versus the macroeconomy liquidity injections, which has never led to something good for an asset like Bitcoin. Every time that they are pulling out the money printing, the price very shortly, we are talking about between 30 to 90 days after, tends to retrace to catch up with the trend of the injections, which is down at the moment. Now, interestingly, the injections have been very steady without any changes since the 2nd of March. Every day bringing a value of around 70 to 72, which is something that sometimes happens. if Bitcoin makes a retracement and at the same time we start seeing that the global injections start increasing, that could be a great re-entry. But if the money printing keeps going down while Bitcoin is going down, we might as well want to wait slightly more until we see that the injections start increasing. Make sure that you're subscribed to the channel because whenever we get a pullback, if we get it, I'm going to be monitoring all these indicators and making videos to make sure that you're up to date with multiple perspectives, which personally is what helps me the most to make my decisions. We currently have 37 days before the halving. I've been repeating like a parrot that the past performance indicates that pre-halving there's usually a decent pullback. Past performance doesn't guarantee future performance, but there's still 37 days to have a pullback, and the price has had hardly any pullback in quite a while. A very quick update on the daily and on the 4-hour before we go into these special numbers that I have prepared for you, and we end the video with the in and out of the money analysis that I really want you to take away as a very unique alpha that you're not going to find in other channels. And a spoiler, the bots have been doing really great, so I'm also going to update you on that later on in the video. On the daily, I was able to forecast that we were going to do a retest against the trend line. What I was not able to forecast very accurately is that it was going to do it so late in the game. As you can see, this point here managed to close above my trend line very slightly, and in today's candle is pointing below, like if it was some sort of fake out. It's been very difficult to interpret the daily. There's nothing really obvious that you can trade here from these movements of the RSI, and whenever that happens, I don't force the trade, which is a terrible idea. For example, forcing a trade here will be, okay, there is a rejection here, I'm gonna open right now a short. Later on today, Bitcoin might pump, and this particular part of the RSI that is pointing below the trend line might start pointing to the upside and closing the day somewhere here, and you're definitely going to get wrecked on that short. Taking a long here from the daily perspective is not providing me any valuable information either, so it's better to go to another time frame. My gut feeling remains the same. I still think that we are going to remain in this area and start building a channel to the downside. And that might come with sideways or with the beginning of some sort of mild downtrend for the daily. After having seen so many times moves like this, you should expect to see here some cool down. On the 4-hour, on the 5th of March, we have a massive fake out here to the downside. We broke below this trend line, and right after we shoot back inside the channel. Currently we are building this local trend line, and I'm looking forward for two things: a retest of this trend line around here at 62.63, another touch down here around 50 to 53, or meeting up again with the resistance at around 80.81. So putting those levels, my 80 at the top, 61, let's change it to 62, at the bottom 52. Now if we focus on the price, the red is the RSI 52, which is located at 70k. If we come and visit 70k, that will make a lot of sense from the point of view of CPR. We just managed to break above this level of CPR, which was resistance for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches, and right after that we broke above it. So coming down below here and retesting this area makes a lot of sense. That coincides with the bottom of the triangle around here, or the local trend line right here is represented by this yellow line, and you can see that the price is constantly coming down and leaving some lows touching the yellow trend line. And if we go again into RSI 80 from here, we will reach a price of 75k. Looking into the weekly RSI once again, we need to celebrate that we have finally managed to get above this line that I have left here in yellow. That line represents an area where the RSI weekly has spent the least time in the history of Bitcoin. Usually it coincides with the most bullish moves during the bull market. For example, here in 2017, that's the first peak, and this one is the second peak. One thing that I want you guys to take away is how short-lived we remain above this yellow line. The second thing I want you to take away is that even if we come below the line and then we remain below for quite a long time, the price can carry on going higher, but every time that you cross above this line, which is around 84, is a time for you to pay 100% attention at what's going on. These numbers that I have placed on the top constitute the number of times during that cycle that Bitcoin managed to get above an RSI of 84. In the early days, things are not settled, so we don't care that much about that cycle, but still, we spent 5 times above that level of RSI. In the next cycle, we did it twice. We have one top at around $155 and then another top above $1,000. Notice the bearish divergence. So if you were paying attention here and you see this bearish divergence on the weekly on a second top, you should be very tempted at that point to take profits. In 2017, we can see 3 times that we are above. There is this one that is slightly above, so you could say 3 to 4 times during that cycle we were above 84. The first time was post-halving. We have one touch of 84. Here we have one touch of 84 as well. Here we are above, post-halving, above and above. In the past cycle, we did it twice. Notice that on the previous all-time high at 69K, we are no longer managing to get above 84. So the bearish divergence here that you're having is even stronger than this one here, because the 2 peaks, you're above 84. Here you are below 84 and you're clearly in a channel to the downside. So if you are not taking profits at this point with a price higher, but with an RSI so much lower than before, when you were in January, you will be taking a huge, massive risk. In this particular cycle, there's an anomaly. We are above 84, and it's the only time that we are above pre-halving. The halving events are these red lines, and this is the only time that we managed to get above it so quick. These 2 times, we touched 84, but we didn't cross above. When you cross above 83, it's the beginning of the end of the bull run. It doesn't mean that it's going to end tomorrow or in a couple of weeks, but you can start measuring in months how long is left for the bull market to end. I don't know if it's 3 months, I don't know if it's 12 months. And you can see that here. For example, from the first time that you are above here, you spend over a year. But as I say, this is the first cycle. In this one, from the first to the last is 245 days. That's less than 1 year. In the third cycle here, we got 343 days, again, less than a year. And in the previous cycle that we say that was very short-lived, between the 2 times that we are above the 83, there was only 28 days. And that was the consequence of having COVID. Right now, we started being above the 83 and we are 20 days that we are still above 84. The question is, how many times are we going to be above 84 in the next cycle? And how long from now until we get the last time above 84? Is it going to be roughly a year, or is it going to be like COVID that was only 28 days? I don't think it's going to be like COVID because that is an black swan event, very unique. But it seems to be that all cycles have respected less than a year with the exception of the first one. From the social point of view, things are exploding and developing really quickly. We have already crossed the 50% interest over time for the search of Bitcoin worldwide. This is something that we only manage to do when we are entering again this last stage of the market. It's incredible because I was not expecting to see Google Trends to show 50 here. Whenever I go to Twitter, whenever I look into YouTube, I don't see the from retail yet. What I'm actually experiencing is some sort of euphoria just coming from institutions, because let's face it, those are the ones that are currently going crazy buying Bitcoin. Corporations, institutions, all this FOMO coming through the channel of the ETFs. It's the first time that we are having FOMO coming from Wall Street into Bitcoin, and that still we don't see that FOMO coming from retail. I have the feeling that retail is still on their hands waiting or getting a call from a friend telling them, have you seen Bitcoin? It did an all-time high. Oh yeah, I wasn't paying attention. So it's going to be a very interesting development once we start seeing this 50 going higher and all YouTube full of new people watching videos and starting to invest. I'm really keen to see whether all this early buying coming from institutions is just going to be dumped into the retail coming too late. Usually that's what's happening, but not at this scale. And finally, we make it to the in and out of the money analysis that I wanted to do today. You can see here that currently we are at 98.96% of addresses that are in the money. This means that there is roughly 1% of people at a loss. There's almost no one currently that is losing. And that is something that doesn't happen very often. Usually is reserved to the last 2 or 3 peaks before a blow of top. And I'm going to show you the past performance of this particular view of the market. Just so you know, the green area here represents the chunk of the market that are in profit. The white is how many are in a break even, and the red band, how many people are in a loss. Usually bottoms of the market is when most of the people are in a loss, and tops are when everything is in green. So let's expand this window and let's go up until 2019. You're going to see that here at the bottom of 2019 bear market, there was 53% of the addresses of Bitcoin at a loss. That was bottom of the market. And in 2022, only 46% were at a loss. Less people in a loss in this particular market. So what I mean is that do not expect the same percentages repeating. But what can happen is that once you reach a top, you again see percentages in profit and you see numbers like 98%, which you can identify here around February 8, where everybody was in a profit with this massive impulsive move. You can see that pre-halving, we never managed to have everybody in the money. Then there was the COVID crash that pushed the number of addresses at a loss to 50%. And from there, we started building up. And the last time that people were mostly in profit was on the 8th of March. After that, you can see that the peaks start doing lower lows. Little by little, less people up until you see 90%, then you see 86% maximum. That's the next peak. And right after that, you see a massive collapse in the price of roughly 50%. On the second peak, here we managed to get to 96.7 maximum, and that was the beginning of the bear market. So the anomaly here is that we are having this in the money pre-halving. By looking at this chart showing the full history of Bitcoin, you're going to see the psychology and the greed of people. One aspect to notice is that if everybody is in profit, slowly but steadily people start taking profits. They take some time to do it, and you can see that it can remain at over 95% for a few days, maybe a couple of weeks, but then very soon after that, they take profits, and then new people that were waiting for a pullback buy. Once they buy, that pushes again the full group back into very high levels of profits. But that cycle doesn't continue forever. In some cycles, you can see, like for example, between 2017 and 2018, that multiple times you hit that very high level of profits. In 2021, just a couple of times. In 2013, for a few months, we remained there. And in November of 2013, just for a few days. I think the key takeaway is that once everybody's in profit, it's a good time to think to take profits. Because if you don't, other people will do it. And I'm not saying if you have all your Bitcoin and see everybody in profit and just sell it all, but some partial profits might make some sense to take. Of course, if your opinion is that the ETFs are going to continue buying and that there's further upside, I think you're right. There is further upside. And the point here to make is not that we are just going to crash right here. My point to make is the level of risk involved into holding an asset together with 99% of the people being in profit and trusting that not a big chunk of them are going to decide to take profits and generate some sort of cascade to the downside. We will have to see. Make sure that you subscribe the channel because I'm going to continuously keep an eye on how we are doing, not just with this indicator, but with many other things that I can find in this website. If you look into the description, I have a 20% discount now incorporated when you sign up for Into the Blog. And of course, that's going to support the channel. Let's have a quick look at the performance of the bots. So far this month, the bot Messenger has been the best performing bot with 21% this month. Our statistical arbitrage pairs trading bot is the second best performing. I remind you, this is still in preparation. I will let you know as soon as it's ready for people to invest. Aphrodita is the second best performing for the month, followed by Moon River that at some point made 16% and then it hit one of the stop losses and now is waiting to re-enter with new deals. The Scalper Aggressive made 6%. The Conservative has been quite shy to enter the market since the uptrend has been too strong, so it only made 2%. One bot that took a big hit was Alligator. With one of the pullbacks, it hit quite a few stop losses, causing it to break even so far. I'm still running it and we'll see how we do in the next few months. This is a long-term bot, so we will see. Those bots are all free to copy. Have a look at the description. You will find the instructions in the copy trading bots. In the same link, it will explain you do not need a TTP subscription to copy those bots. The bots have success fees, which can be reduced to a minimum if you are a VIP member of TTP community. And also, if you hold any of the trading parrots, you can contact my team on Discord. Link is in the description as well. And just by holding one of these items, you can also claim the same discount as if you were a VIP member. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.